Salt and Roses segment, revisiting downtown on Pitt Street. I see this plaque out in front of the Windsor Community Museum, the Battle of Windsor, 1838. But what do I see? I see a big parking garage. I'm with Neil Helmer, the gentleman who is in charge of the Salt and Roses segment. Tell me why that parking garage is way more than what it looks like.
Well, because 170 years ago, the parking garage was an orchard. And in that orchard, there's a battle. December 4th, 1838. Rebels, with help of some American friends, armed themselves, marched on the town, and were confronted by the local militia. And there was a pitched battle in this orchard on the farm of WCM.AVI, where now the Windsor's Community Museum is.
Right, and so this space, there's like an all-out fight.
Yeah.
And among the trees, among the apples.
In front of the house, yeah. And the Americans and the rebels were eventually defeated in this battle. The rebellion was started due to the feeling by the general people that there wasn't enough representation in government. So rebels under William Lyon Mackenzie in Upper Canada, which is now Ontario.
Yes.
And also there's a similar rebellion in Lower Canada, which is Quebec, during 1837 to 1839, resulted in a number of pitched battles around the province here, all along the border, and also much more intense up in Quebec.
And you said there was even a battle in Pelee Island.
There was.
And this was, you had, let's say, disenfranchised or citizens that felt they weren't being represented, and they were like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
We're going to fight the British. We're going to fight back. And hey, Americans, you want to help us? And this was trouble.
Yeah.
And battles broke out all over. You're saying, okay?
Yeah. Well, the Americans were actually more than happy to help out, because they had gone through their own revolution against Britain only 60 years before.
So they were willing participants.
Well, they were hoping that Canada was going to follow suit, and that maybe perhaps that Canada would fall in and join the newly fledgling United States of America.
Well, that's a good reason to get involved. And right now, just so people know, we're taking a detour, a new entrance into the Windsor's Community Museum, and it looks like the back door to me because it's not facing the street, but this is not the back door.
No, it's not the back door at all. This originally would have been the front door of WCM.AVI's house, facing the river. But now, if you want to look around, not such a nice view of the river anymore.
Hey, St. Clair Center for the Arts. So yeah, this would have been there would have been a log cabin, the second house, smaller house, a little more rugged, sitting in front of that. Yeah. So exactly. Now we're actually going to pop in here because there's some information about a particular story, a particular character involved in the Upper Canada Rebellion.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go take a look in here. Again, Windsor's Community Museum, chock full of interesting historical artifacts and bits. And who are we going to look at? Who are we going to talk about?
The colonel commanding the Essex County Militia at the time.
You said the colonel commanding the Essex County Militia?
Who would have been defending against the rebels.
Yes.
Was Colonel John Prince. If you want to take a peek, I got a nice little picture of him right here.
John Prince. Hello.
Dashing fellow.
Dashing fellow. Yeah, he. I know they didn't have any of that. What's it called? Pomade, but his hair is pretty sweet. So what was his deal?
Well, after the battle was concluded, the British rounded up the prisoners and
American prisoners.
American and Canadian rebels, but he decided to summarily execute 5 American prisoners.
How did that go over all around? Because I mean, Americans, quote unquote, were right across the river,
right.
And they probably did this out in public. I'm guessing,
Yep.
Almost right near we're standing.
Yep, it was in retaliation. A surgeon, a friend of John Prince's, was, as he said, brutally murdered by the rebels in the course of the battle, and this was in retaliation for that.
Oh, so John Prince's friend was brutally murdered, and then you've got Prince, who's got these Americans and rebels mussing up his business over here, and so he gets some of them and says, payback time.
Well, instead of treating them as prisoners of war, he treated them as common criminals and decided that he had the authority to execute them on the spot. which caused a huge international uproar.
International uproar.
Oh yeah. Well, the American government and Canadian citizens, Upper Canadian citizens, were definitely not very happy about this conduct, and he was publicly challenged in newspapers and accounts by some local citizenry, to the point where he actually challenged one of them to a duel.
Hold on a second. So they called him out, and then he said, "Oh, you don't like it? How about we have a pistol duel?"
Yes, which he won.
Well, so he won the pistol duel.
He was, this exonerated his honor. However, though, this caused more of a furor, and then for the next few years in the paper, there was little advertisements that he would have saying that he would set spring guns and man traps on his property from dusk till dawn because he was getting death threats.
So he would put out an ad saying,
"Don't come on
Don't
my property
come and
after
get me.
dark, otherwise you're going to get shot or step in a bear trap."
"Oh my goodness." So would he have been living in this area?
He lived in what is now Sandwich.
So very close.
Very close indeed.
But the battle happened pretty much where we're standing in what would have been the back of the Francois.AVI house,
In the
Windsor's
orchard.
Community Museum, in the orchard. Did we know there was an orchard downtown, folks? Probably not. And I really appreciate you letting people know through this Salt and Roses segment.
We'll be back, and we'll have some more stories for you.
Yeah, this space, there's too much to share.